Hey everybody, we wanted to make this video just to be able to really show you the power of the basic Chameleon Color Tones pens, and there's so many ways you can use them and so many ways you can do color overlays. Now, I'm going to be working on this bonus Digi download that we're giving. I love this mandala. It is so much fun to color. There are so many ways that you can do color overlays on this one, and we're going to show you some basic ways and then go into a few advanced techniques. Now, your Chameleon pen, as you know, is a double-ended marker. So you've got your super soft Japanese brush nib on one side and you have the bullet nib on the other side. One of the very basic things I like to cover when I start with this pen is that you can use this pen like an ordinary marker. The super soft Japanese brush tip, it feels a little bit more like a paintbrush than it does a regular marker, but you can use it in circular motions, you can use it in a backward and forward motion. It contains the alcohol ink. So what that means is that you are going to have beautiful finish on here, and it dries really quickly. Now I could have done that with the bullet nib, or I could be working with the brush nib. It doesn't matter either. So you start with a high quality alcohol ink that the inks are refillable and these nibs are replaceable, and you can use this like a beautiful marker pen. Another way that you can change the color tone is just the same basic way you would with any ordinary alcohol pen, and that is throw a layer on here. So you can layer up alcohol inks. It's usually good when you let it dry and you can sort of see the true color once that dries up. So you can do beautiful darkening just by laying flat one color on top of another color, or the same color on top of itself. Of course, why Chameleon pens are so unique is they do so much more than that. When you take that mixing chamber that you've got filled with the colorless toning medium and you insert your marker in here, the two nibs touch. Now I hold that straight up and down because I want gravity to work with me. I want to be able to fuse that colorless toning medium into my Chameleon pen. I'm using the YG3 and I fuse that for about 10 seconds. So I'm going to have a very light hint of a tint. It's almost like watercoloring, but with your alcohol pens. So as I start to color, you can see that the color becomes darker. So I'm getting multiple color tones out of this one pen, and I'm getting a beautiful color gradation. So it goes from light to dark. So that's a basic way that you're going to use the Chameleon pen to get depth and dimension. But one thing that is so great about having that color gradation is that you don't have a hard edge. You've got this beautiful light to dark. So you could feasibly go back and just color right back over top with that same YG3. So why would I be doing this? Well, I've got that color gradation underneath, right? Now, as I start to color back over top, kind of like what I did here, the solid color on solid color, I've used that color gradation underneath, so there's still just this like little hint of that lighter green underneath. So that's a great way, just by layering, you can use the gradation as the base. So we're using the color gradation as a base, and now what you can do is a tone on tone. So you don't have to think about what would, to add texture. Oh, this is fantastic for fur and for hair, and you can use the bullet or the brush nib. But now if you wanted to add a complementary color to really make things pop, it's already in the pen, so it matches beautifully with the gradation that you did. Or maybe you want to add a little bit of texture for fur and for hair, and so this is where you get this really kind of cool tone on tone. You can also go back in and fuse that bullet nib, so you can even get a color gradation to your texture. See, so I've kind of got light to dark that I'm doing here. So, this is a really cool way to get texture for fruits, for hair, for fur, and because you get it all from this one pen, you're just hitting it with some toning medium so that you can get those multiple color tones. So that's just using one color of the Chameleon system. There are 50 colors in total, which gives you hundreds of different color tones. But I'm going to introduce a second color, so I'm going to be able to adjust or change or make a whole new color using this second color. So I'm using my NU1. Well, what I'm going to do now, because I've created this color gradation, I'm going to create a color gradation right over top of it. So I'm fusing my NU1 because I want to keep this light area light, but I want to change the color of the YG3. That's your spring meadow. So what happens now is I have this clear colorless toning medium that's coming out. So I'm not changing the color of that color gradation from that light area, but see how as I start to color, you start to see that the NU1, that's the bisque, is starting to change that green. So it's no longer of the Spring Meadow poppy kind of bright green, it's muted it down a little bit. Now I used a warm color, I used NU1, so it is going to be a warmer green. If I used a gray, it would be a lot cooler color. So that's one way of overlaying a second color. Okay, so here's another cool way that you can overlay a second color, and that is just take the color, don't fuse it. I'm going to take my NU1, my bisque, and I am just going to color right over top. So you can see the beautiful pure bisque color right there. But as I'm coloring over top of the Spring Meadow, of the YG3, you start to see that color change, right? So now I've got the bisque, but I don't have that bright green anymore. I've got the muted green. So I'm getting this color gradation of these two colors, a beautiful blend. It's perfectly seamless, and I've created a whole new color. Okay, so that's really fun, but watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to change this a little bit more. What I'm going to do is, remember here I fused and then I went from light to dark. Here I just laid it flat. I'm going to fuse again on the NU1, the bisque, but I'm going to do it in the opposite direction, and we call this a cross color blend. Well, why would I do that? Well, the reason why is I don't actually want to change this YG3 color. I want the YG3 to stay YG3. I don't want it to be the muted color, but I do want to have some nice bisque in the blend. So now, a little bit different. You can see bright YG3, and then the color overlay where we've created that whole new color. So that's another way of doing it. Okay, one last way we want to be able to show you how to use Chameleon Color Tones pens, and that's with Chameleon's Color Tones pencils. Now, our Color Tones pencils are made for us by our partner in Austria, and they've been making colored pencils for over 150 years. What's different about these, in addition to being high quality artist grade pencils, they are highly pigmented, the leads are beautiful and smooth, they lay down color exceptionally well, but the other part about this you're gonna love is we've taken the whole guessing process as to what colors mix to create great blends, because we put it on the other end. So they're a double-sided pencil, with each pencil actually having perfectly matching color pairs. So all you have to do is just flip to blend. But because they're such good quality, they work really well with our alcohol pens, and you can blend and layer between pencils and pens, or pens and pencils. Here I'm actually putting the colored pencil on top of our color gradation. So what that means is I've got that color gradation, and I'm going to adjust the color tone of that clear gradation to make it blue. Now, I'm actually using photocopy paper here, so it's really smooth. But you find better results, obviously, with colored pencil paper. But just by going lightly, and the whole thing with colored pencils is you don't need to press hard. You just basically want to layer the color down. And what you love about our pencils is you can layer and blend exceptionally well. All you do is just flip to blend. So I'm going to actually move to my darker color now, and I can go back and just flip into the lighter color as well. One thing that's great about this is I can layer. So I'm going to layer my pencil on top of my pen, but to be even cooler, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and put pen on top of that. So I just wanted this little sort of blue kind of hue on to my green. So that's what I've done here, and just by adding that color, and you could put layer upon layer upon layer of color on here. I will tell you, you will not get that wax bloom effect that you tend to get sometimes when you're layering a lot of colors on top of one another. So there I've just put that light base of the electric blue. That's our 1401 color, and I'm actually going to fuse my YG3 again, and I'm going to layer that YG3 right on top of what I just did there. And what happens is the alcohol ink actually helps sort of smooth out some of the wax, although our pencils have exceptionally smooth coloring, but sometimes you want a little bit further blend, so you can use the blender pencil with our pens. the blender pen with our pencils, but you can also just fuse your pen and it becomes a colorless blender at the beginning and then goes into that darker color. So now I've kind of got that blue underneath, and I can go back and put more colored pencil on top. That's the kind of cool part. You can layer and you can blend exceptionally well with these. So lastly, though, I really do want to show you how this can interact with our Chameleon Color Tones pencils. Remember, these are so fantastic. They're Austrian made, highly pigmented, buttery smooth, and each pencil comes with a perfect blending match color. So I'm going to use my electric blue, and I'm going to show you how I can use the pencils on top of the marker pens. So remember that beautiful base, the whole concept of the color gradation. It works with the pencils as well. So I got that pure color, and you can put layer upon layer upon layer of color here. And when you want to regularly, I would just flip to blend to get to this darker color. I'll tell you, the flipping part is flipping awesome. But yeah, you don't have to search for that other color. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep coloring using the pencil one color, because I want the benefit of that color gradation that's underneath. So you're going to find with these pencils, as you color with them, the most amazing thing is you can put layer upon layer upon layer of color on these pencils, and you don't get the wax bloom. And you know, with pencils, it takes more time. You have to sort of work it. You don't want to crush the tooth of the paper. I'm actually using photocopy paper here. It's not colored pencil paper, so you're going to get a better result if you were to use a colored pencil paper. But that's one thing we like to show folks with the marker pens, is I didn't use any special paper. It's actually a 32-pound stock, but it really does hold the color well. But see, what's happening here is I can actually color using my colored pencils. I can keep that color gradation underneath, and I can blend the color over top. And again, you can put layer upon layer upon layer here. But this is kind of where it gets even neater, because I can go back over top with my Chameleon pens and do further blending, and I can layer more colored pencil over top. And that's the nice part about high quality alcohol inks, and again, the colored pencils being such good quality and highly pigmented, I can actually create, I actually fuse this pen first, so I'm going to go and put a color gradation back over top here. So just showing you that you can layer and blend and mix different mediums, just like what I've done here. And the blender pen actually works really nice with our Chameleon Color Tones pencils as well. It helps, you know, if you want to break down or smooth out the wax a little bit. But they're really good quality pencils, and this is all the different ways that we've shown you here. Just to recap, because I know it's a lot, we started with just laying flat color down with our Chameleon pen, and then laying another flat color down on top so you can deepen the color tone of the alcohol ink. We used, obviously, that beautiful color gradation. Then we had a color gradation underneath, and we put the flat color right back on top to still have a slight gradation, but we're just using the one pen color on there. We showed you how to do texture, adding tone on tone, how to fuse a second color and overlay so you can keep that color gradation but change the base color that you had. And then we did a flat color overlay over top of a color gradation. So we got the second color nice and pure, and then we adjusted the color tone of the base color into that warmer green. And then we went in the opposite direction where we fused the Chameleon pen so that our NU1 went from light into the darker color. So we color overlaid, but we didn't adjust the color of the YG3. And lastly, we added Chameleon Color Tones pencils and went right over top of our color gradation. And then we even went back over top with the Chameleon pen. So you can see this system between the pens and the pencils, there is so much that you can do. You're going to have a lot of fun coloring this one little mandala. Enjoy!